YouTube frogs, Castorice is finally here and she's the second Remembrance DPS to be released right after Xlice. In this video, we'll be going over everything you need to know about Castorice in a digestible fashion and showcasing her power at E0. This is going to be done on the CE server, and of course, that means things are subject to change for full release, so keep that in mind. Let's start off with a full guide on how Castorice works. So, first off, Castorice continues the trend with unique ultimate mechanics, but this time she's all about HP. Whether it's hers, her allies, or their summons, any HP change, gain or loss will contribute to Castorice's ultimate. If you are unfamiliar with her ultimate, that's Netherwing, her big burly dragon that rains destruction upon all enemies. Now, while her dragon is very friendly to allies, it's also got a love-hate relationship with their HP. As your team loses HP, Netherwing will gain HP, and when Netherwing's HP reaches 0 and leaves the battle, your team will recover a bit of HP. As you will soon see, this kind of song and dance with HP is the melody of Castorice's design. And to get it out of the way, yes, she does have a global exclusive passive that prevents an ally from dying, but there are some caveats to it, so it isn't some crazy cheat code. Let's take a look at what exactly goes on with Castorice and her dragon. When you first check her out in combat, you'll notice a couple of immediate things. If you activate her technique beforehand, you'll get the most beautiful intro animation to the battle and be transported into Castorice's own domain. This is a unique mechanic called Territory, and for Castorice, her territory is called Lost Netherland. I can't help but think of the Nether from Minecraft, even though they look nothing alike. This Netherland is tied to her dragon Netherwing and provides a nice aura debuff of minus 20% all-type res for all enemies. Afterwards, her dragon will start puking all over the enemies, dealing massive AoE damage that continuously sacrifices its own HP. You'll see the tooltip that you can control, and its HP bar is separated into 4 segments. On the last segment, at 1% HP, Netherwing will do a final boom, leave the field along with its territory, and heal allies. Then your team's normal rotation happens, and Castorice's tooltip will show the percent progress of HP change towards a new ultimate. Once it's 100%, her ultimate is ready, and her dragon is back on field once you use it, ready to spit on everyone. The 3 orbs that show up when Netherwing is alive reference its technical 3-turn lifespan, but most of the time, you'll exhaust its HP before that period. For Castorice's own attacks, you'll primarily be using her skill. This consumes a good chunk of your ally's current HP, providing a lot of progress percent for her ultimate. When Netherwing is not on field, it'll be a typical blast attack, but when it is, it will be an enhanced full AoE attack. Both of these variations do not consume skill points, but they do consume your team's HP. But she also won't be generating any skill points with her skill spam, so she's SP neutral on most team comps. The HP cap for her ultimate does scale by your character's levels, and it caps out at 34,000. While this may look like a large number, with proper team comps and sustain, Castorice's ult cycling is quite fast. Similar to the Herta or Acheron, these ultimate unique mechanics are designed to be fairly easy to cycle with their design comps. So, overall, this is basic Castorice. She has a big dragon. Big dragon demands your HP. In return, big dragon deals big damage and protects your team from fatal damage. When big dragon dies, it feels bad for your team, so it heals them. Cycle repeats. Overall, her kit resembles Maide's in terms of HP necessity, but has unique mechanics that change the dynamic of your entire team. So, now that you have a general grasp at our Dragon Queen, let's dive into the nitty-gritty trace details. Talent. So this has all of the details of her ult charge called New Bud. 1 point is gained per 1 HP lost, 20% stacking damage bonus for both Castorice and Netherwing whenever allies lose HP, up to 3 times. When Netherwing is on the field, this New Bud thing will no longer be gained, you'll see that in the tooltip, and then the HP loss is instead converted to HP gained for Netherwing. Also in the talent is the exclusive passive. Basically, as long as she is in your account, 1 time per battle, even in endgame content, when an ally dies, their death is suspended in this moon cocoon state. They must then be shielded or healed during this time to revive, or else they die normally. So basically, make sure your sustain survives if any of your team members happen to die. Technique. So this is an active ability, and you must enter battle with Castorice to gain its value. If you switch off of her, the ability will disappear. Similar to the lore, Castorice technique forces social distancing. Entering battle will summon Netherwing for free, advances its action by 100%, so it is the first to act, and sets up Netherland territory. Netherwing will start with 50% max HP, and then Castorice will sacrifice 40% max HP of all allies to replenish Netherwing's HP. Usually this will get Netherwing to above 90% HP. The battle will then start with its breath that you have full control over. Most of the time, you'll just do a full dragon breath plus boom and then reset. And then this last part of the technique, if you enter battle without the technique, so you don't summon Netherwing, Castorice will start at 30% of her maximum new bud instead of 0%. Skill. So, if you don't have Netherwing online, it will sack 30% of allies' current HP and deal blast damage. The purpose of this is to increase the new bud so that she can ult. If you do have Netherwing, it'll be changed to this. Sack 40% of allies' current HP and deal AoE joint attack with both Castorice and Netherwing. The purpose of this is to recover Netherwing's HP because it's still alive so it can do a bigger spit attack. And then Ultimate. This has the same effect as the technique. It will summon Netherwing, make it go immediately, and create Netherland. In this, you also get a tooltip of Netherwing has 165 speed and has 3 turns of life if not already boomed by then. Lastly, basic attack. This does nothing, you will never use it. Her skill only consumes HP, so unless your team is about to wipe, you'll always be able to use this. Now we're not done. We still got Netherwing's traces. Memo Sprite Talent. This describes the backup mechanic. If Netherwing is on the field, allies technically cannot die until Netherwing is dead. After their HP is lowered to 1, Netherwing will now redirect the damage that they would have taken at 500% of the original value. Once it gets to this point, 500% is quite a lot, so yeah, make sure either they get healed or you're resetting Netherwing. The second part of this is an extra 10% damage bonus for all allies for 3 turns when Netherwing is summoned. This 3 turns is basically the duration of Netherwing. And then the final part of this is Netherwing's final attack boom when it leaves the field. 6 instances of damage to random enemy units. So if there's only one, it's going to be a big single target nuke. Afterwards, all allies recover HP. Skill. This has all of the breath multipliers. Each successive breath consumes 25% of Netherwing's max HP, and the multiplier scales up to 3 times from 24 to 34%. The tooltip that you'll see on the bottom right indicates the strength of the breath with Roman numerals. Even though the breath only has 3 multipliers, it still gets stronger with more uses with her trace passives here, which we'll get into. Once below 25% HP, using it again will proc 1 more breath, leave it at 1 HP, and then do the boom before it leaves the field. Alright, so overall, there's a lot of details in these trace nodes that's not really reflective in her gameplay. They basically just make her dragon stronger. And then we have the extra trace nodes. Castorice gets a bit of quality of life that's connected to the rest of her kit. A2 trace. Healing is now also included for both new bud contribution and Netherwing HP when it's on the field. Originally, only HP loss would contribute, but with A2, healing is now included with a cap of 12% of 34k per target per action. This sums up to 4,080 HP per target per action, meaning with 4 team members, there will be a maximum of a 16 gain per single action. This is likely to prevent situations where you do a massive team-wide heal that can instantly charge new bud or fully heal a Netherwing. A4 trace, 40% speed in combat when above 50% HP. This is literally just a sneaky way to bypass 4-piece poet set bonuses for full value while also making the character have decent speed in combat. This also doubles Netherwing's speed when it gets a kill, which is likely quality of life for AoE situations like Pure Fiction. A6 trace. This is what I'm talking about during the breath multipliers. So this gives a stacking damage buff up to 6 times for the breath, which is independent of the original 3 multiplier stages and they coexist with each other. So this provides up to 180% additional damage bonus for that final breath boom. At E0, this is unlikely to get capped since normal usage only has 4 25% segments, but with higher investment, 6 is possible. Now, beyond these trace nodes, Castorice also has a nice spread of stat nodes that provide 18.7 crit rate, 13.3 crit damage, and 14.4 quantum damage bonus. With this distribution, hitting a balanced crit ratio with Poet shouldn't be difficult. Talent priority. So, Memo Sprite talent and skill are going to be the highest priority. Her dragon's big damage multipliers are split between these nodes. Talent has the final boom here, and skill has the breath. Then prioritize Castorice's own ult for the res pen here, and also the talent for the damage bonus here. And then her base skill can also be useful for chip damage, and then basic attack is left alone, you'll never use it. So now let's talk about her Eidolons and if there's anything crazy going on in the first 2. As always, no Eidolon is ever needed, but some provide a lot of value at early stages that they could be worth considering. E1, an interesting conditional multiplicative damage increase for Netherwing. I'm pretty sure this means any enemy at 80% or 50% or lower of its own HP, but the wording that says this unit's max HP is a little bit weird, so correct me if I'm wrong. If it is, it's a nice damage multiplier that will nearly always have benefits of 20% to 1.4x of the original damage. E2, this gives Castorice 2 extra procs of her breath without consuming Netherwing HP, which means 6 full stacks of A6 trace are now possible. She also also gets her own action boost and also gets a boost for her next skill usage. So this basically means that Big Dragon does a lot more damage and Big Dragon comes back more often to do that damage. These first two Eidolons are very strong. It's actually mostly in the E2 here, but they're not meta defining or game changing, making her base E0 state quite good. E3 and E5 are typical trace level increases. E4 is an interesting, almost useless Eidolon that provides only a minor increase to Castorice's Nuba generation from the A2 trace by slightly increasing the team healing. Yeah. E6 trace, 20% quantum res pen. Also, Netherwing ignores weakness type and directly reduces enemy toughness. When it triggers a weakness break, you will always trigger the quantum weakness break effect. Also, Netherwing's final boom hit hits 3 more times. So 9 times instead of 6 times, which is a final damage boost of 50%. Classic E6 big nuke type shit. Overall, Castorice is definitely strong and gets clearly strong with Eidolons, but I think Castorice's base kit is really solid considering these are the Eidolons, making them not necessary. E2 is quite a large DPS boost given the multiple buffs it provides, but again, it doesn't change her gameplay besides just bigger damage more often. Alright, now let's get into her light cones. So, we've unfortunately got a bit of bad news. There's almost no quote-unquote free option that's suitable for her available to players as a Remembrance Path user. Her most important stat is base HP and also HP percent, both of which are quite limited to only her signature weapon. Her signature provides a juicy amount of stat bonuses beyond the typical, provides max HP percent, ignore defense, and a slight action boost when the memo sprite disappears. This LC is very tailored to her needs and due to the ignore defense is noticeably more powerful than any other option. Now, the only possible fallbacks are Battle Pass Lycon, which provides useful stats and enough base HP. Otherwise, an alternative would be this 3-star Lycon, but its base HP is quite horrendous, and the passive unfortunately will reset for Castorice since her dragon does leave the field over and over again. Now, I do want to mention a sneaky extra Lycon that might actually save a lot of you guys from despair. Even though she is from the Remembrance Path, she can actually still use Lycons from other paths. You'll just be sacrificing the passive bonus. But this is okay since most passive bonuses are quite useless on her. We really just want to focus on base HP. In Castorice's specific situation, she can quite easily use this light cone. It's Bailu's standard light cone designed for abundance characters, but we don't need to worry about the secondary stats here. We only care about the base HP. So if you have this lying around and don't want to invest in her signature, this is a solid sneaky option. As you'll see here, watch, if I switch over to it, my base HP still remains approximately the same, 8.5k. Obviously, we are losing the passive bonus, and her signature does have HP percent. So, but this is not bad, considering that base HP matters a lot more than those stats. You can see 9.3 here to 8.5. If I switch from this one down to the Battle Pass Lycon, which has just 220 base HP less, we actually fall quite below even the Bailu's LC. So it is totally an option here. We do have a bunch of crit from other stats. So if you don't want to go for the signature, then Bailu's LC is definitely an option. All right, relics. So this is a really straightforward section here because Castorice is HP scaling and mostly memo sprite damage. So for 4P set, we got Poet. Decreased speed by 8%, which allows for 32% crit rate, and then she'll have her own passive that boosts her speed later on to bypass this. Other options will be limited to 2Ps for raw stat bonuses, since 4P sets must be explicit for memo sprites. So we have stuff like 2Ps Longevous for the HP and 2Ps Scholar for the crit rate. All right, and then for Planar ornaments, the Bone set will provide both additional HP percent and lots of crit damage for both wearer and memo sprite, making it hyper tailored to Castorice's kit. Other options like Rudolin Arena and Banana Amusement will be less valuable due to their lack of explicit synergy for memo sprites. For main stats, you can unironically run Quadra HP main stat. HP, and I'm doing specifically tailored, but yeah, it could still be HP as well. If you want more fine-tuned options, crit damage over HP body, HP boots always, HP rope always, and then HP is better than damage orb. She doesn't use energy, so we can always use HP rope, and she doesn't need speed because it's her dragon, and we're only going off of HP changes for ult spam. If you want to consider non-HP main stat, prioritize the body piece first because HP is still better than a damage orb. If you notice in her kit, she actually gets a crap ton of damage bonus, so that's why HP orb is better. All right, so team comps. So Castorice's design wants to optimize around taking as much damage as possible and healing as much damage as possible to rotate Netherwing as often as possible. This means that healing sustain is a must in this comp. So we have 2 other slots for supports. Thankfully, Castorice's team comps are probably the most F2P friendly out of any of the recent characters, since their best synergies are easily accessible characters. RMC comes out as a top crucial support over other premium advancers due to her mixed ability to provide true damage bonus. She also has high hit count from herself and Mem, also has access to Mem's HP bar for Castorice Nuba generation, and of course, she's free. Of course, Sunday is also an excellent option, but his buffs are not perfect for Castorice, and they are a little bit wasted on her, and given that he's used with every other recently released character, I think it's good he's not the #1 choice here. Gallagher comes out as a top sustain support, even though there are other premium 5-star options due to his indirect healing. In the same way Maide benefits heavily from Gallagher, Castorice also functions the same way, and also, besides Gallagher, we have Luocha. Now, these two healers are incredibly useful because their fields/ulta debuffs apply to enemies that allow consistent healing from ally attacks. Gallagher specifically has control over when to output his ult windows, allowing him to be timed after Castorice's dragon has reset and is ready to be resummoned. Luocha also does similarly have the same thing, but of course Gallagher is a 4-star with access to full Eidolons, so most of you guys hopefully have invested in him by now. And of course, Tribby. I've learned my lesson. Always recommend Giga OP Harmony character because again, she's way too useful to be replaced in most of these situations, even if you already have every other Harmony character. The Aura Res Pen and Vulnerability Percent are rare and incredible valuable buffs, and Tribby can do them super easily. She's also super tanky as well. She literally just AFKs on field. So yeah, definitely solidifies a support slot for Tribby. So given that her team comp is pretty stabilized here with Gallagher and then RMC or Sunday, question is Tribby. For those that don't have Tribby, what are some F2P alternatives? Now we're going to go back to a classic here because she actually gets decent value. Pella. With tutorial mission and constant ultimate spam, Pella makes a pretty solid support member for constant defense shred. And of course, in this specific team comp, Pella you shouldn't worry about dying because Castorice's dragon has got her back. Of course, she's not going to be as impactful as Tribby, but for a pure F2P comp, she's pretty dang solid. Her only role in this team is to spam her abilities and ult uptime for Def Shred, taking advantage of indirect healing from Luocha or Gallagher. So this is then the main team archetype for Castorice. It looks like the following. We have Castorice, we have RMC or Sunday, we have Tribby or any sort of flex, and then we have Gallagher or Luocha. Honestly, it's pretty simple, but sometimes simple is what works best. Now, on to the important question. Is she recommended to pull? First things first, she's a DPS, and as with all DPS, they typically do not withstand the test of time. So if you're pulling for that reason, just make sure that you have the proper investment for her. That being said, if you can guarantee Castorice and guarantee her light cone, or at least the battle pass light cone, her other sources of investment are very low. One of the most F2P friendly team comp lineups that we've seen from recent character releases, and a build path that is pretty forgiving since you just stack a crap ton of HP and get a bunch of crit from set bonuses and support buffs. So I think newer players and those on a budget may find Castorice appealing, that she's low investment and doesn't require a super premium team comp with a bunch of 5-star units to be content ready. Overall, I think Castorice is a low investment and also a fun choice. She's definitely got animation power great with some of the most satisfying animations, but not a necessary choice at all, even considering her global passive. I've already talked about my thoughts on her global passive in a previous video if you want to check it out, but the most important thing to mention here is that the passive itself is not impressive and only serves as residual quality of life. She's also got a big dragon, and that shit's cool. All right, let's get into some quick showcases. All right, so we are in the Memory of Chaos now. I've got 2 showcases for you guys today. First one is going to be pure F2P setup. You can see Gallagher, Pella, Trailblazer, and Castorice are on my team. All of those 3 units, RMC, Pella, and Gallagher are all E6. Gallagher is standard investment. Pella is on win set, and then RMC is standard investment. Basically, bare minimum team comp that I expect you to run because all these units are pretty easy access. And the other showcase will be with more premium supports. All right, so because this team has 3 active abilities, Gallagher, Pella, and Castorice, we can only do 1 setup, which is RMC, and then enter with Castorice. Because if we don't enter with Castorice, we are not going to get Netherwing right away. All right, first stack of damage, 85% Netherwing. This is basically bare minimum unbuffed damage. 3 enemies, the damage is quite low. It's okay, we'll get it up really fast again. All right, summon Mem. Gonna use Pella's E here to get her closer to her ult. And then Gallagher, I think we can base attack here. %. Now we can ult with Gallagher. 61% now. New Bud's active. Basic attack. 87%. We're gonna wait. 91. 94. I think we can skip it right here. I'm gonna use Mem here. Into Pella's ults. There we go. And now we're good. Alright, so this should be basically full buffed here. 100% Netherwing HP. We are 104 294, and we've got 70% damage bonus, which is going to increase as we use our E. Alright, 120k, 277k, 497k, 756, and the final one, we reach 1.03 into the big boom, 1.417. And we've got only one enemy left. I am going to just basic attack here. We don't need to do much. I don't think we're going to be able to one cycle, which is fine though, because I do want to save our burst for the next wave. Okay, so this is going to take us to the next phase. All right, basic. Let's see how close we get. We have a lot of skill points, so I'm going to go ahead and heal here. 65%. If we use this, we are going to boost up Castorice just a little bit. I think it's okay because we should be able to get 2 since Gallagher's ult is almost ready. So if we do this, we boost up Castorice. She does this. I'm pretty sure she gets a new bug here. Okay. I think we should be able to cycle this ult pretty quickly, so I'm not too worried about this. It's going to do a little bit of extra damage here. That first part is AoE, but this is where we get a little bit of a chunk. All right, 11%. Them set up. We can go ahead and AoE. I think we're going to get ready here because Gallagher's going to be able to ult into EBA next. All right. Is that the most HP I can get here? Really? I guess I should trust this. Sure. All right. Gonna be ready. 59%, 85%, and then I'm just gonna basic. Actually, I can E here. We don't need the skill points, so I'm not too. Okay, yeah, we can do this. Oh, Castorice is gonna stack HP, and then we have new bud up for maximum damage here. We're still full buffed. 121, 287, 506, 750. Finally, 1.27. And then we do get the true damage proc here. We also get an action advance from them right away. Okay. Do this. Do a sack. Def Shred. Basic. 90%. If I do this, I might be able to get my ult. No, not quite. Okay. So, okay. Still good here. Only 3 enemies. Looking to take him into phase 2 here. Okay. He summons all the stuff. Then chunking him out here into ult. I think we might be able to squeeze one more. Might be a little shy though. Let's see. 97% is really close. It's fine though. We can basic. I think we can probably skip it and then RMC right afterwards. Let me see here. Ooh, this is gonna be a little tricky. I think unfortunately, Mem is probably gonna go here. Or we might be okay. Nice. Okay, I can do this right before Mem goes. Okay, damage is still the same. We're getting about 1.5 mil each time. And then Mem's gonna bump up Castorice. She just went. We can use our E again. Ult's ready. He's gonna set up his minions. It's all expected. Getting close. I think we can basic here. Let me actually do Pella first. See how close I am to New Bud. 86%. And then basic is 90%. And then E here is 94%. And the mem is 99%. Oh, I guess this is where we're at then. Okay. Not sure this is enough to kill in this phase, but we're gonna try. Because we do get the final boom. All of the hits are gonna be on him, so there is a chance. All right, final boom. 14%. Turbulence. Not quite. Just shy. A little bit of optimization probably could have gotten 4 cycles there, but overall not bad. I mean, we're just throwing the rest of our damage out at him. Alright, so it was 4 cycles for a pure F2P comp. Alright, so we are back. Second showcase here with a little bit more premium. And in fact, we really didn't change much here. The only thing that I did was I swapped out Pella for Tribby. Tribby is E0, S1, so we don't have the E1 steroid here. And we're gonna see how big is the difference. With Pella on this team comp, we got 4 cycle clear for the first half. Let's see what we can get on this one. So in this case, we have 2 passive abilities, Tribby and RMC, and then we use Castorice as our active. All right, so initial damage, we do have Tribby's E up. So let's see. Any change? Is a little bit of change here. All right, 550k to start. We're gonna set up Tribby's ultimate right away. She is super slow, so we get full value out of this. I'm gonna set up Mem. And then Gallagher, we can go ahead and heal. So first, we're gonna consume HP here, and then we're gonna send Gallagher in for full value. And we might have optimized this a little bit, such that we get... Uh-oh. I guess this is not super bad, because we did get the value. I think we might go before Gallagher's EBA. Okay, so I guess we're doing that. But this, I think, should get us into New Bud. There we go. All right, so we've got full buffs active here. 104, 345 with 70% damage bonus. Okay, let's see. First tick on 3 enemies. 100k. 233. So this is good because this is on 3 enemies instead of 5. All right. Oh, instantly moving on to the next phase. Okay, we actually, this is, you guys remember that we used Gallagher's ult earlier, but yeah, okay, so now we're using it. I suppose we can wait here. Okay, we're gonna wait until he summons the dudes. This is to sack our HP. There we go. So unfortunately, we don't have Gallagher's ult, so we don't get any of the indirect healing, which we kind of need right now, but it's okay. We kind of cleared much faster than we intended to. Doing this, can use Tribby's ult since her turn just went. Then we go ahead and E here. We should be close to New Bud. 85%. And then 90%. Okay, I can squeeze in here. Alright, let's see how much damage we do here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is only 3 enemies. We already killed 2 of the ads. Final damage, pretty big. All right, 62%. And we do get a boost immediately here, which is good. So we can prep for another one. Okay. We're gonna wait until he summons. Okay, he's summoning the dudes. Oh, he's not summoning the dudes. Okay, well, I guess we have New Bud again. So I think we might be able to combo multiple times here. Single target damage, let's test it out. Oh, look at this single target damage here. And 12%. We're going again. Oh, I should be using Gallagher first. This is my mistake. %. Okay, 65% on New Blood. Tribute, we're going to basic here. Second phase. Gonna ult. Alright, he should be summoning stuff. We are very close. I think one auto and we should be good here. Hopefully we can squeeze this in before Mem goes. I think we can. If I basic here and then immediately spam one. Okay, we're good. Alright, full value. Oh no. Oh, this is a little awkward. Well, we're gonna get a rare joint attack here. Not what I intended, but 562k is still pretty solid. Now we're getting full AoE. Okay, nice. We're gonna be hitting quite a big amount here. 1.6. Pretty solid. This is just to get our ult a little bit faster. Okay, summoning the dudes again. We might be close to ult. I need to use Triby's E here. Sack HP. Basic into ult, possibly. Might be just in time right before the cycle ends. There we go. Alright, final bit. They're just gonna go all in here. They should be dead. How much damage is our final hit? 1.8. 1.8. Not bad. All right, so pretty big difference there. We did make a little bit of mistakes, but we did 0 cycle the first wave and took 2 cycles the second wave. The problem with that previous run was that Gallagher's ultimate ended up being pretty wasted. So in an ideal situation, you would actually save Gallagher's ult to get that Posada debuff on the enemies and then start indirect healing for Cash's ult uptime a little bit faster. 2 cycles still is not bad considering the damage. You guys notice that Castorice's single target damage is really the big boom from the dragon. The dragon's breaths are purely for AoE. It's very, very minor single target damage. But yeah, overall pretty solid. I'm pretty satisfied with that. We might have been able to do it like 1 cycle faster, but it's not really a big deal to me, since at the end of the day, I'm just showing you guys the difference between the F2P and the premium. Tribby adds a lot of extra chip damage from her passive talent, always doing follow-up attacks. And also her 2 buffs are insanely valuable for Castorice, since Castorice, as you guys know, has a bunch of damage bonus, and her 4P set and supports give her a bunch of crit. She's already stacking a bunch of HP since her main stats are HP. So she has a lot of HP, a lot of crit, and a lot of damage bonus. So Tribby is really, really valuable to multiply that damage up. But yeah, that should basically wrap it up. Those are the 2 showcases. Let me know what you guys think of Castorice. I think that she's a pretty cool designed character. Animations are very flashy. Overall, she has a balance between AoE and single target damage. And of course, she is rather low investment. All things considered, the only thing that's a little bit problematic is her light cone. Her team comps are fairly F2P. As you guys saw, I basically only changed 1 character. We're still using Gallagher. We're still using RMC because they're really valuable for her. And then Tribby is a character that you may or may not have. I'm sorry if I convinced you not to pull for her in previous video. Learn my lesson. Anyways, that's Castorice. Let me know what you guys think of her in the comments below. Let me know if you are pulling her. I will be pulling a single copy, as you guys may have seen in my previous video. The global passive thing, we didn't even end up using it. It is literally just a thing here. If you happen to die, you might get a moon cooking state. All right. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.